Everything we suspected is now confirmed. The FDIC has officially greenlit a sweeping plan that could change the foundation of U.S. banking as we know it, and buried in the details are massive implications for digital assets like XRP and HBAR. If you hold either of these tokens, this isn't just another headline. It's a turning point. And most of crypto Twitter isn't even talking about it yet. This isn't speculation. This is documented. It's strategic. And it's already unfolding. So in this video, we're breaking it down, step by step. What the FDIC actually said, how Ripple and Hetera fit into the real-time payment infrastructure that's being built behind the scenes, and why this might be the trigger event for a multi-trillion-dollar digital asset migration. Subscribe now if you're serious about staying ahead in this market. Because by the end of this breakdown, you'll understand why the institutional floodgates are closer than ever, and why those holding XRP and HBAR are perfectly positioned. Let's begin with what just happened, and why no one in mainstream finance wants to talk about it. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC, just released a bombshell of a document. On the surface, it's packaged as a technical roadmap for future-proofing the U.S. banking system. But beneath the bland bureaucratic language lies one of the most significant shifts in American financial history. The quiet transition from analog banking to tokenized, programmable digital infrastructure. This is no longer speculative. This is no longer in the research phase. The FDIC is confirming, in black and white, that the transformation is already underway, and that banks must be ready to plug into a new financial grid built on digital asset rails. Here's what the roadmap reveals. Full digitization of bank-to-bank settlements, meaning goodbye to legacy SWIFT-only workflows, and hello to atomic, instant settlement through distributed systems. Real-time payments integration, not just domestic FedNow speed, but cross-border, 24/7/365 liquidity capabilities that cannot be achieved without leveraging crypto-grade protocols. Embedded financial monitoring where transactions are not just processed, but analyzed in real time for compliance, audit, and risk metrics through programmable frameworks. Partnerships with third-party providers, specifically calling for collaboration with DLT, distributed ledger technology. Platforms that offer scalable infrastructure for regulated tokenized value transfer. Now here's the quote that rewrites the playbook. Banks should be prepared to integrate digital asset settlement mechanisms that can enable immediate liquidity provisioning and programmable compliance for institutional-grade transfers. Let's break that down. Integrate digital asset settlement mechanisms. Translation. Banks must adopt systems that can settle with digital tokens, not just fiat IOUs. Immediate liquidity provisioning. This is precisely the problem XRP solves. Banks won't need to pre-fund Nostro/Vostro accounts globally. Liquidity will be accessed on demand. Programmable compliance. This is BAR's territory. Compliance won't be a separate manual process. It'll be baked into the transaction flow itself, real-time AML/KYC, identity binding, and audit trails. And understand this, the FDIC does not issue guidance unless a framework is already being quietly tested in the background. They aren't theorizing. They're preparing. Why now? Because the global financial system is reaching its breaking point. T+2 settlement delays, cross-border friction, siloed banking databases, and outdated messaging standards are no longer tolerable in a world of real-time everything. Meanwhile, China is deploying its digital yuan with full surveillance capabilities. Europe is pushing digital euro pilot programs. And the US is about to leapfrog, but through the private sector. This is why Ripple's enterprise solutions and Hetera's public-private partnerships suddenly look less like crypto experiments and more like government-sanctioned infrastructure. Because that's what they are. So while most are distracted by meme tokens and ETF speculation, the real action is unfolding behind the curtains, at the highest level of monetary architecture. The FDIC is lighting the beacon. The message is clear. Integrate or be left behind. And if you're holding XRP or HBAR, this is not the time to second-guess your position. It's time to double down on understanding what's unfolding. Because the rails are being built, and the tokens that power them are about to become essential. Now let's talk about XRP, the utility token that's been hiding in plain sight while the rest of the market chases hype. Ripple, the company behind XRP, has spent the last decade building infrastructure. Not hype, infrastructure, and it's aimed directly at the core friction of global finance. Liquidity. Banks today operate with locked capital. Nostro/Vostro accounts hold trillions in dormant value just to facilitate international payments. This system is slow, expensive, and completely unsustainable in a digital-first economy. Ripple's solution? On-demand liquidity, or ODL. A payment system that uses XRP as a bridge asset to free up capital and enable instant, cross-border settlement without pre-funding. And the stats don't lie. Transaction finality in 3 to 5 seconds. Less than 1 cent in fees per transfer. No energy-intensive mining. Decentralized validator network with compliance-grade resilience. This isn't theoretical. ODL is already active in more than 40 payout corridors globally, servicing remittance giants, fintech startups, and yes banks. With the SEC lawsuit resolved, Ripple now holds a rare and powerful distinction in U.S. crypto: legal clarity. While other projects tiptoe around regulation, Ripple is onboarding institutions. And here's where the FDIC's roadmap collides perfectly with Ripple's strategy. The FDIC talks about immediate liquidity provisioning and digital asset settlement mechanisms. That is literally what XRP was designed to do. The FDIC's mandate for financial institutions to prepare for real-time digital asset settlement isn't an endorsement of speculation. It's a call for infrastructure that rules out Bitcoin, which is too slow and expensive for real-time payments. It rules out meme coins, which offer zero compliance. What it does open the door for is XRP, which is ISO 20022 compatible, enterprise-tested, and built specifically to operate within a regulatory framework. And let's talk about ISO 20022 for a second. This global messaging standard is at the heart of modernized financial communication. It's what SWIFT, the Fed, and central banks are all converging on. And Ripple was one of the first movers to ensure that XRP could integrate seamlessly with this new financial language. Translation: when the financial pipes are upgraded, XRP is already fluent. The world isn't waiting for a new coin to be invented. It's retrofitting its infrastructure, and XRP is the plug-in protocol they've been testing quietly behind the scenes. The FDIC isn't saying XRP by name, but it doesn't need to. Every box they check off, real-time liquidity, programmable compliance, interoperability, cost efficiency, has already been implemented by RippleNet. So the question isn't whether XRP will be used. The question is when the rest of the world catches up to what Ripple has already deployed. Because the rails are built, the corridors are live, and now the green light is coming from regulators. That's not coincidence. That's execution. And if you're holding XRP, you're holding the future of liquidity. Now, what about HBAR? While XRP dominates the liquidity conversation, HBAR is taking a different, but equally critical path. Hetera is not building hype. It's building infrastructure for institutions, and not in theory but in the real world right now. This is where the FDIC's phrase, trusted third-party technology partners, becomes key. That's not just bureaucratic lingo. It's code for networks like Hetera. Look at Hetera's governing council. This isn't a who's who of crypto influencers. This is a boardroom of industrial titans. Google, running a Hetera node, directly validating the network. IBM, one of the global leaders in enterprise blockchain services. Boeing, leveraging DLT for supply chain and aerospace data systems. Standard Bank, one of Africa's largest banks, exploring digital asset infrastructure. Deutsche Telekom, connecting the telecom sector with decentralized trust layers. These players aren't experimenting, they're deploying. Right now. So how does this tie into the FDIC's strategy? Because Hetera is purpose-built for the exact features the FDIC is calling for. High throughput, capable of 10,000 plus transactions per second, with consistent performance. ABFT security. Asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance means military-grade security for financial data. Fair ordering of transactions, built into the consensus essential for legal and regulatory audit trails. Low, fixed fees, no gas wars, no volatility, just scalable enterprise utility. But what truly sets Hetera apart and makes it an ideal match for the FDIC's digital roadmap, is its architecture for compliance at scale. Unlike many crypto networks that favor permissionless chaos, Hetera is engineered for permissioned integration. It gives institutions the tools they need to comply with KYC, AML, GDPR, and every regulatory standard governments demand, without compromising on decentralization. Real deployments already speak louder than hype. DLA Piper's Toko platform, issuing fully regulated tokenized securities on Hetera, bridging capital markets with tokenization. South Korean bank pilots via the HBAR Foundation, testing interbank transfer mechanisms on DLT. U.S. Department of State identity projects, exploring Hetera's infrastructure for secure, digital identity issuance and credential verification. And it's only expanding. The Hetera ecosystem is attracting developers, regulators, and governments, not with promises, but with results. Hetera isn't trying to be Bitcoin. It's not trying to be a store of value. It's not even trying to be a currency. Hetera is building the digital trust layer for institutions who need to operate under legal scrutiny. And in a world where the FDIC is mandating tokenized back-end systems, Hetera fits like a glove. Because the biggest shift in banking won't happen at the front end, it'll happen behind the scenes. Banks won't tell customers they're using DLT. But under the hood, they'll need networks like Hetera to stay compliant, scalable, and secure. If the FDIC is serious, and they are, about integrating trusted, interoperable platforms into banking operations without overhauling everything, then Hetera is the digital substrate they'll lean on. So if you're holding HBAR, understand this. You're not betting on hype. You're aligned with the infrastructure partners that banks, governments, and regulators are already testing in the shadows. And as the curtain lifts on programmable compliance, Hetera's architecture becomes the blueprint. This isn't future speculation. This present-day execution. And the world is about to find out. Now, let's get practical. If you're holding XRP or HBAR right now, here's what you need to know. Institutional alignment is no longer speculation. The FDIC is confirming what Ripple and Hedera have been building for a decade. The infrastructure is live. ODL and Hetera's council projects aren't coming soon. They're functioning and just waiting for policy clarity. ISO 20022 compliance is key. Both XRP and HBAR are on track to be compliant with the global messaging standard that underpins financial data. Retail investors are still asleep. Most are still chasing meme coins, unaware that real adoption is happening under the radar. We're not in the bull market yet, but this is how it begins. The convergence of regulatory alignment, enterprise adoption, and government strategy is the perfect storm for utility tokens. And XRP and HBAR are at the center. Let's wrap this up with where we're headed. The FDIC's updated roadmap targets full digital integration by 2025. That's just months away. And this means we're going to see increased adoption of liquidity tokens like XRP, enterprise onboarding of scalable networks like Hetera, regulatory frameworks formalized by BIS, IMF, and US Treasury. And once the digital dollar architecture is in place, the real game begins. Here's the truth. XRP and HBAR aren't moonshots. They're infrastructure plays. And now, with confirmation from one of the biggest banking regulators in the world, the clock is ticking. This is your window. Don't sleep on it. If you found this breakdown valuable, subscribe to the channel right now. Because in the next few weeks, we're diving deeper into the BIS Project Agora and its connection to XRP. How Hetera's token service is being tested by banks in Europe. The real reason the SEC is pivoting. We're ahead of the curve because we follow the real signals, not the hype. So like, comment, and share this with another XRP or HBAR holder who needs to see what's coming. Because this isn't just another video. This is the beginning of a financial transformation. And those who position early win. Stay sharp, stay sovereign, and as always, be crypto smart.